So I know you've heard the saying, time is money, right? Well, nowhere is that more true than when you're out dashing or any other food delivery service like Uber Eats, Grubhub, etc. And you probably heard the saying that football is a game of inches. Well, fellow dashers, I'm here to tell you that dashing is a game of minutes. And in this video, I'm going to talk about 10 different ways that you may be wasting time during your dash that is causing you to have a lower hourly rate than what you would like to have. So let's get into it right away. Number one, decide on your desired hourly rate, calculate your per minute rate, and don't accept orders that don't meet that rate. All right, so what I'm talking about here is, let's say when I go out dashing, I have an expectation, and what I would really like to make is $20 an hour. It could be a little less, could be a little more, but that is my target, $20 an hour. So if I'm going to calculate my per minute rate, you have $20. Obviously, there are 60 minutes in an hour. So $20 divided by 60 equals 33.3 cents per minute. So that is my per minute rate. Now, the way I use that is when an offer comes in, I do a quick calculation in my head. I look at the amount of the offer, and then I look at the restaurant to decide, is this restaurant a restaurant that is either going to be ready right away? Does it take a little while? Am I comfortable with how long that they usually take to give me the order once I get there? So that is one factor. The other factor is going to be the mileage. So I look at the miles, and not only the miles, but I look in the direction that it's going. Because sometimes you could have, a certain amount of mileage, but it's almost all highway miles, and the highway moves very quickly. Or it's in a direction that has a lot of lights, right? So you can calculate how long it's going to take you to get to where you need to go for the drop-off based on the location of the drop-off. So for example, let's say I have an offer come in, and the offer is for $10, and it's 8 miles, right? So what I do is I make the calculation based on the restaurant, based on the time it's going to take me to pick up the food, get to the customer, and likely drive back, because many of the customers live outside any zone where there's restaurants. And so if, let's say, for example, on this, it's an 8-mile trip, and I know that it's going to take me 25 minutes to pick up the food, get to the customer, and then get back. So if I do my calculation using my per minute rate of 33.3 cents per minute, I would need to make at least $8.32 in order for this offer to be worth my time. Now, let's say the offer is for $10. So I say to myself, okay, that $10 exceeds the $8.32, so then I'll take the offer, right? I'll accept the offer. Now, if it's, let's say if it was $6.75 for the same trip, so I know that the minimum I need to make for this order is $8.32. Obviously, that doesn't meet that criteria, so I'm going to decline that offer, okay? So the first thing you want to do in order to set your hourly rate and try to really attain that hourly rate that you'd like to get is figure in your head what is the per minute rate that you expect to get. And then, it'll take some finesse. You have to once you've been doing this for a while, which restaurants take a certain amount of time. You get to know the streets, which, 8 miles in one direction may be longer than 8 miles in another direction. You'll figure that out. And you'll be able to look at an order as it comes in and make a quick decision on whether or not that meets your per minute rate, okay? So that's the first thing you should do. Take the hourly rate that you expect to make, divide that by 60. That'll give you your per minute rate that you need to attain when you accept an offer, okay? Now, the next bunch of these are going to be ways that you are wasting time that you don't even realize, and it's costing you an hourly rate to be lower than what you would expect, okay? So number 2, stop talking to people. Now, I am completely guilty of this because I love to talk when I'm out. I go to the restaurant, I talk to people, it's just, I'm very talkative when I get out there. So how many of you can relate to this, right? So you get an offer, you go to the restaurant. When you get to the restaurant, there's a fellow dasher there, whether you know them or not, maybe you've seen them before. Hey, what's up, John? How are you? Right? So you tell the guy at the restaurant, the name of the order that you're picking up. And then you start talking to the other dasher. And you're talking about how the dash is going that day. You talk about the weather. You talk about who's banging who on the weekend, right? And all of a sudden, while you're still talking, the restaurant worker says it, and they hand you the bag. Your order's ready to get delivered. But you're still talking to the other dasher, right? You want to finish the story that you were just talking about. So you may be there, let's say, an extra minute. And then eventually you go, all right, John, I got to get out of here. I got to make this delivery. All right, see you later, Dean, right? You walk out the door, you just spent 1 minute talking to a dasher, wasting time, right? So that minute just cost you 33 cents, right? If you're aiming like me for $20 an hour. So something you may not even recognize. So it's like you just wasted a minute. Now, you could also have a situation where you're at the restaurant, you know them, you're friendly with the restaurant workers, and you're talking about bullshit, whatever you're talking about, and then the order's ready, and you're still talking. I've done that before. I start talking about my YouTube channel. I start talking about just bullshit. And before you know it, I wasted 2 minutes. I finally walk out the door. That 2 minutes just cost me 66 cents. So I just paid 66 cents to have a conversation with someone who I couldn't give a shit about. I was just being nice, right? And then the third way you talk too much is when you get to the drop off. Most of the time it's going to be leave at door, but it could be a hand to customer. I've done it. The customer opens the door. They ask you a question. You start talking. Before you know it, you've wasted 2 or 3 minutes. Then you finally, thank you very much for the tip. You drive away. You just lost $1, right? I was there for 3 extra minutes talking about, the restaurant I just came and how busy it was. I just wasted $1 talking to the customer. So if I was making $6.75 on that order, I just lost $1 talking too much. Okay, this is why it's so important to recognize every little hidden minute that you have that you're wasting during the day. All right, so that's the first one. Stop talking to people. If you're out to do the job, do the job. Save the talking for later. If you feel like going out after your shift and having a conversation with the fucking kid, behind the counter at McDonald's, then go back there. But otherwise, while you're working, stop talking. Number 3, pre-plan your delivery route while waiting for your order. Now, I did a video that you can check out here, and I'll put a link to it at the end of this video, where I talk about a new feature that DoorDash should incorporate into their app, and that's when you accept an order and you get to the restaurant, and let's say you're waiting. Now, if you know that, you hit the little hamburger button on the top right of the screen. That'll bring up the order details, and you're able to actually see the address of the customer within that little pop-up box that appears. What there should be is a little directions button that allows you to open up the directions so that you can look at the route that needs to be taken in order to get to the customer. Where I live, there are multiple ways to get to, a customer maybe 3 miles away. And obviously, like anyone else, there's probably multiple directions that you can go in. So it's going to be time of day. So let's say the customer lives slightly past the high school, and I'm doing a pickup right as the high school is letting out. Now, obviously, I want to pre-plan my route. I'm not going to go past the high school. I'm going to go around a different way. It's the same distance. It's just a different direction than the map would explain to me, right? So while you have some extra time, while you're standing there waiting for the food, pre-plan your route so that you know exactly where you're going as you pull out of the driveway, the restaurant. You can head on the way that you already know that you're going. And then if you want, then you bring up the directions or the map, and this way you know where you are. But otherwise, if it's pre-planned, you're actually going to save a little bit of time rather than get in the car and then look at the map and then try to figure out which way to go. Because if that takes you 30 seconds, that's 16 cents I just lost looking at the stupid screen. Okay? Number 4, learn the fastest routes to your destination. So just like I was talking about in pre-planning, as you start dashing more and more in your neighborhood, you know which direction has lights that are very extended. If you get caught at that red light, you know it's going to be 3 or 4 minutes. You know which, if you're going to the customer, you know which lanes or you know which streets have 2 lanes, which has 1, which is a 50-mile-an-hour street, which is a 40-mile-an-hour street. So you want to make sure that in your delivery zone, you start learning the fastest streets that will get you to the destination you want to go. Again, any drop-off is going to have multiple ways to get to that house. And so you want to be able to learn, I'm going to go this way instead of that way because that one has a 40-mile-an-hour limit and it's a 1-lane road. This one is 2 lanes at 50 miles an hour. And they both go to the same location. So learn your neighborhood, take some time. You'll figure out over time which roads are faster, which has lights that are extensively long. I've waited at red lights that take like 4 minutes is the cycle. So if I get caught at a red light, at the last second, the light turns red, I'm stuck. That's a 4-minute cycle. That's $1.25 out of my pocket or $1.33 out of my pocket just for waiting at that red light. Okay? So learn which ones are faster. Number 5, learn to cut corners. Now, I'm going to give you an example of this. It's hard to explain, but in every state, as I mentioned in other videos, in every state except for places like New York City, there's right on red is allowed, right? So I pick up from McDonald's, and I'm going to have this little very terrible drawing up here. So let's say the McDonald's is down here in this bottom left corner. So I pick up from McDonald's. A lot of my drop-offs are to an apartment complex that is 1 mile north and 1 mile east, and just in the opposite kitty corner of where McDonald's is, right? Now, there are two ways that I can get there. I could either come out of McDonald's and go immediately north on Lynn Lane and then make a right and then go down to 192nd Street, or I can come out of McDonald's and I can go straight down 61st Street and then make a left up to 192nd. But here's the difference, and I want you to look at my little drawing here. When I come out of McDonald's and I go via Lynn Lane, that is a right turn on red. And I go up that street, that's also a 2-lane road that goes 45 miles an hour. And then when I get to 51st Street, it's another right on red. So in both of these situations, I'm not waiting for the light. It's a right on red, so there's no waiting for that light. So now if I go the other way and I go down 61st Street and I get to 192nd and then I have to make a left, I may get stuck at that light. Right now, that's not a long light. You know, it's got like a 1 minute cycle by the time it goes from green to red to green again. And so that may be a minute there. And then I make the left turn. Now that road is a 40 mile an hour road, and it's a single lane in each direction. Then I get to 51st Street and there's another light where I have to make a left, right? I may miss that light as well. So that may be another minute. So if I go one direction, I could lose 2 minutes on waiting for those lights. But if I go in the other direction, then I don't have to wait for lights at all because I can make a right on red. So that's what I mean by learning to cut corners. Look where you need to go, and if you have right on red in your town, which is going to be almost every dasher out there, learn to use those right on reds to save you time from accidentally getting caught at lights if you went the other way. Okay? I hope this makes sense, but just in this very simple example, this is a very typical run for McDonald's for me to pick up from this McDonald's and to take to that apartment complex, because there's a lot of apartments. I do that many times per day. That little bit of knowing to go where I make the right on reds, over the course of the day, that could save me 10 or 12 minutes, right? So we're talking about, $3.50, $4 that I would save just in going one way instead of the other. Okay, so that's what that means. Learn to cut corners. Number 6, run those red lights. Okay, now I'm not suggesting that you run red lights, but this is what I'm talking about. Except for, and I have it written down here, Louisiana, Rhode Island, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Every other state, the law regarding red lights is when the light turns yellow, if the front of your car passes the crosswalk when the light turns red, that is perfectly legal, right? It's only illegal for you to enter the box or the crosswalk after the light is turned red. So I noticed tons of people when they drive, they know that the light is going to turn red. Let's say it's yellow. All of a sudden they're jamming on their brakes just so they don't go through the intersection while it's red. But the thing is, you're allowed to. As long as the front of your car passes the crosswalk, even by an inch, you have the right of way to continue forward through that red light. That is not a violation, right? Except for those 4 states where they don't allow that. But in every other state. So, if you're driving and it's yellow, but that light is going to be yellow for, let's say, 3 or 4 seconds, and then it's going to turn red, and it's only going to take you 2 seconds to get into the intersection, even if it's a big intersection, just go. Run the red light. Don't worry about if your car enters the intersection while it turns red. You're allowed to do that, okay? And you can look that up for yourself if you don't believe me. As long as the very front of your car is past the crosswalk line when that light turns red, that is not an infraction. That's not a violation. You are allowed to continue going forward. Okay? So run those red lights. Number 7, don't stay behind slow drivers. So let me explain this one. So where I dash, which is Broken Arrow, you have a lot of restaurants that are in a very concentrated area, and a lot of the deliveries have to go, let's say, straight north, 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles. As soon as you get out of that area, you're now into more of the country, right? So now these streets are going, 45, 50 miles an hour in 1 mile increments. So you may get to 1 mile and there's a stoplight, and then it's like stop signs the whole way, right? So let's say I'm going to deliver an order that's 3 miles north and let's say 1 mile west. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the restaurant. I'm going to start heading in that direction. Now, let's say for that first mile, I'm behind a guy that's in a 45 mile an hour zone and he's going 35, right? And then I get to the first, mile, and there's a stop sign there, and I see that he's going forward. I know that this guy is going to be driving at 35 miles an hour in a 45 mile an hour zone for miles and miles in front of me. So he's going to be wasting my time. So I know that I already have to make a left turn eventually because I have to go 1 mile west. So what I do is I look at the guy. I know the guy's in front of me. I know he's going to drive slow. So instead of waiting to get to mile 3 before I make the left and go 1 mile west, I decide to make the left there, go over 1 mile to the next street, and then go north from there. Why? Because chances are that I'm not going to get another ridiculously slow driver in front of me if I take a different direction. So a lot of times you'll realize that when you're driving somewhere, when the guy in front of you is driving so slow, you just want to fucking smash your car into the back of his car and just tell him to get the fuck moving, right? But you can't do that. So what you have to do is you have to calculate where you need to go. I mean, usually it's not a straight line. You have to go over some blocks, up some blocks, And if you're stuck behind somebody, go a different direction. Immediately pick some other direction to get to the person's house. Do not stay behind this guy because the amount of time that he's going to waste is going to kill you. If he's going really slow, and let's say if you go the speed limit, the lights change to green as you approach them. But now this guy is going to cause you to get caught at the red light and probably the next red light. And so you're going to waste a bunch of minutes just sitting at red lights because you got stuck behind this guy. So do the best you can to stay away from slow drivers. Don't follow them in the right lane. Go around them, pass them, do whatever you got to do because slow drivers are going to cost you money. You may not realize it while you're just driving and listening to the radio, but while you're going 35 and a 45 behind some guy, you're going to lose minutes, you're going to lose dollars per hour. So that's it. Just don't get caught behind slow drivers. Number 8, don't eat on shifts that are less than 6 hours or just bring your lunch with you. So if you are scheduled for 6 hours or you're going to do something like a 6-hour block, eat before you go, right? Or eat after you're done. Don't stop to eat. Don't in the middle of the dash, get out, go to McDonald's, pick up some food. Don't waste time. Because let's say you go somewhere to eat and you're going to do it real quick. You're going to pop into this fast food restaurant. You're going to order something. It's going to be ready. You're going to sit down, because you're starving and you're going to eat it. Guess what? You just lost 15 minutes, right? So 15 minutes when you're making 33 cents a minute is a lot of money out of your pocket that, probably you're losing more money than the food just cost you. So just don't eat if it's more than 6 hours, then certainly you can grab something to eat. Just try to eat as fast as you can. Or sometimes, like I do, I will just bring food with me. If I know I'm going to be hungry, I didn't eat breakfast and I intend to be out for 6 hours, I'll grab something out the door and I'll just eat it in the car while I'm driving around. Okay? But if I can, I try not to eat while I'm driving. It's a waste of time. When you're dashing, you're dashing. When you're eating, go eat when you're not dashing. Okay? That's it on that one. Just try not to spend time eating when you're on a scheduled dash. If it's less than 6 hours, you can do it. You're not going to die. Work, work, work. Don't eat. Just dash. Number 9, use the bathrooms at gas stations or restaurants. Now, it's very tempting, especially if you have to go number 2, right? If you're in the middle of orders, you just completed one, you really got to go to the bathroom, and you might go, you know what? Let me just run home quick because I'm only a half a mile down the road. I will run home. Guess what? You're going to get home, and you're going to go to the bathroom, and then you're going to get a drink, and then you're going to get a snack, and then you're going to pet the cat, right? And then you're going to let the dog out, and you're going to do all these things at home. But if you use the gas station or the restaurant, chances are you're going to get in, get out, and get back to dashing again, right? If you pause it while you go to the bathroom. So try to do that when you're out. Go to a restaurant, go to a gas station, do your business, and move on, right? Don't go home to do that, because if you do, you're going to waste an amazing amount of time that you didn't even realize. Well, you just wanted to go to the bathroom, but now you have to check your email to see if that prostitute ever wrote back to you and found your watch. That's it on this one. Just, try to use the bathroom when you're out at gas stations or restaurants. Just don't go home and do it. Do it while you're out. Get your business over with. Get back to dashing and make some money. Which leads to number 10, don't go home. Now, it may not even be to go to the bathroom. It may just like, oh, you know what? I forgot that I left something at home. Whatever it is, when you go home, and I'm guilty of this as well, all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, I got to put my, I have this stuff in the wash. I should put it in the dryer while I'm home. Oh, these dishes are in the sink. I hate coming home to dirty dishes. So let me quickly wash these dishes, right? Again, I might go let my dog out, when he was perfectly capable of holding me in for a few more hours. When you go home, you sort of get out of the zone of dashing, the boogieing and the moving and the making money and the walking and this. You sort of get out of that zone for a while, and it's very comforting. You're like, oh, thank God, I just need a little break. Let's say you're home for 20 minutes, right? And you have a $20 projection. You just spent, $6.66 just to go home so you can check your email or, whatever. So try as best as you can not to go home. Just like if you were at a real job where you go to the office. You're not going to go from the office and go 5 miles and go, you know what? I need to go home and check my email and then go back to your house and then come back to work. You're kind of used to just staying at work. You're at work and you're not going to go home until your shift is over and it's time to go home. Same thing with door dashing, right? When you're out, it's tempting, especially when you pass the block or you're passing your house relatively close to your house. You're like, you know what? I'm going to stop home because I forgot if I left the gas on the stove or whatever it is. Don't do that. Just stay out, okay? Hopefully you understand the whole gist of this. When you're outdoor dashing, it's easy to waste a minute here, waste a minute there. In an hour, you talk to a guy for a minute. You go to the bathroom for a minute. You accidentally get stuck behind a slow driver. You could have gone around him. You just didn't do it because you were busy texting your girlfriend. And now you missed the red light, and there goes another 2 minutes, sometimes 3 minutes to wait for the light cycle. Before you know it, you wasted 10 minutes in an hour, which is $3.33. So if your projection, or if you were en route to making $20 in that hour, you just lost $3.33. So now you're going to make $16.76, okay, instead of 20. Every little minute counts when you're dashing. All these other things you can do after your dash. If you need to talk to people, if you need to use the phone, if you need to do anything that is not dashing, do it later, right? When you're dashing, take it seriously. If you focus and you drive and you don't waste time, remember, when you're out, don't talk to people, right? Someone wants to start a conversation and go, listen, I'd love to talk to you. I got to get going, right? And just leave. Just walk out of that. Because it's easy to get caught up in a conversation with somebody and boom, 2 minutes is gone. Now you just lost 66 cents. All of this adds up. So again, DoorDash is a game of minutes. Learn to respect those minutes when you're out there. Make as much money as possible. Do the most you can do within the minutes that you have for the period of time that you're dashing. All right? Take it serious, and I promise you that you can make $20 to $25 an hour if you focus and stop wasting time. All right? So hopefully this video didn't bore the shit out of you. I hope you find it useful. These are the things that I've learned that I do when I'm out, ways that I waste time and that I don't think about to the end of the day, and I realize I wasted so much time today. So I just want to make sure that you guys don't waste time. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Check out this video here that I was talking about before. Other than that, have a great dash. I will see you guys in the next video.